All of you. Good morning, good evening. So, in today's session, before starting today's session, let's quickly go through with the syllabus what we are going to cover in 204. So, this syllabus is completely designed based on the examination what Microsoft is giving. Okay. So here we are going to start with cloud computing. What is cloud computing? What are the different service models are available? And what are the deployment models are available? Advantages, disadvantages, all these things we are going to cover in this introduction session. Okay, which we'll cover in today's session. Okay. And next, what about Azure? See, this is a general introduction about cloud computing. But what are the specialties of Azure? And what are the hosting models did Azure supports? And how to create a subscription and how to access portal. All this information will be covered in this introduction to Azure session. Once this introduction part is finished, then we are going to move to web applications. That means whatever web applications we are going to create, those web applications, how we are going to deploy, means what are the various ways to deploy. Because if you take any scenario, like you are an Azure developer only. Actually, see, in some companies, Azure developer is different, Azure admin is different, Azure architect is different. But in small scale organizations and all, developer and admin will be single person only. Okay. So if you are a different, means Azure admin is different, and if you are a different person, then there are various ways to deploy, because for Azure developer, they won't give complete access of all services. They will give limited access only. In such scenarios, how to deploy our web application into Azure, that we are going to cover in this, and how to create publish profiles and plans and all, how to select, because depends upon your requirement, various plans are going to be used, right? So when we are going to create a plan to deploy your web application or dependencies, how we have to create a plan or how we have to select that plan, all these things will be covered in this Azure price planning and configuration setup. Suppose if you are working with web application, then database connection string details, any certification keys, etc., etc., some confidential information will be there for our application, right? All those confidential information, how we are going to maintain or how we are going to manage with Azure, that will be comes under this configuration setup. And SSL certificate. Suppose if your application is having some SSL certificate, how to configure that SSL certificate in Azure, that we are going to cover in SSL certification. And the custom domains, how to create and how to monitor. Suppose if any failures are happening for our web application, how many requests are coming, how many responses are going successfully, how much time people are spending in our application, all these monitoring related things will come under this. And scaling and staging environments. Staging environments means, generally, if you people are already working, you people know, right? General application, whatever we are creating, that directly won't go to production. In between, multiple stages will be there. PT, PT, staging, production stage, like so many environments are there. In the same way, here also how to create multiple environments with less price. All these things will becomes here. At the same time, scaling. Suppose suddenly in your website, huge offers you put for Pongal, then obviously lot of customers will be increased. So if customers are increasing, means obviously your server resource also you have to increase for those 3 days, right? So suddenly how to increase the server size based on the input, all those things we are going to cover in this scaling. And finally, how to take it back up and restore, all these things will be covered here. So whatever this module is there, this module completely belongs to web application only. I mean, your web application, how to manage in our Azure. All these things will be covered in this module. This is a little bigger module. And next, Azure SQL Server services. That means earlier, if you want to deploy your web application, what we are going to do? We are going to take a database separately with 10 GB or 20 GB with some space you are going to take, and you are going to deploy your database there. Same thing in Azure, how to create a database and how to configure the database with our application, especially if it is an entity framework code first approach. How you are going to create the database, and again, same monitoring, alerts creation, auditing logs, all these things. Generally, auditing is very important in SQL Server, right? Who and all are doing what and all transactions. I want to audit all that information, right? That those things will comes here. Okay, this module is completely belongs to SQL Server. I mean, SQL Server, how we are going to manage with Azure. Then web jobs. Actually, in the place of web jobs, Azure functions came into picture, but still, some older companies still they are using these web jobs. That's why I'm covering these web jobs also. Web jobs is nothing but it's like a Windows service kind of thing. See, Windows service, if you create that any Windows service, then if in background those services are going to run, right? Same thing here in web. I want to create some service and I want to run that service in background. Then web jobs come into picture. But web jobs is having some limitations. We can't create various types of background jobs. Then Azure functions came into picture. And if I want to run a web job, then we need a web application to run this web job. Whereas Azure functions, they are going to run individually. Suppose, see, if any background job you want to run, they are going to run individually, right? In the same way, Azure functions are going to run individually, and we can create various types of background jobs. Okay, both are very useful, but web jobs is little older and Azure functions is latest. Okay, and Azure functions gives you more features to implement background jobs. Next. Next concept is blob storage. What is blob storage means? Generally, if you are creating a website like Naukri, then you need more storage. Or if you want to create an application like Gmail, or if you want to create an application like some images, background images, and all you want to maintain, then if it is the case, then you need a storage along with your server, because you can't store all this information in a server resource, right? If you are maintaining, if you are storing all this information in a server, then your server capacity should be high. Okay, that is not a good practice. So for storage purpose, something we have to select where we can get in very cheap price. So for that, Azure, not only Azure, every cloud service is going to provide huge storage capacity. GCP, AWS, Azure, all are providing huge storage capacity. That storage capacity, what are the various storage capacities are there, and for which requirement, which storage capacity we have to select, and how we are going to manage that using Visual Studio, everything will be covered in this tutorials. Okay, we are having various storage resources are there. All those things, how we are going to manage with our application, that will comes under the storage. And next, Cosmos DB. So I think I don't know any one of you listen this word. No SQL is there. I mean, SQL Server and all those things we know. We are going to store all the data in a structural manner in a table and all. Tables, views, and all we are going to store. But if you are having an unstructured data, if you are having an unstructured data, and if you want to manage the data, then how we are going to manage means MongoDB, NoSQL, all these things were introduced. So those MongoDB, NoSQL, these kind of databases, if I want to handle with Azure, then all those concepts will comes here. See, if you want to manage SQL Server, then separate concept is there, right? In the same way, if you want to handle NoSQL, MongoDB, these kind of databases with our Visual Studio and Azure, then all those concepts will comes here. Next, VM creation. Suppose, see, if you joined in an organization and you got selected for some client project, then obviously what they will do, they are going to ask like they are going to ask what the client environment means. They are going to provide one remote machine, right? They are going to create one virtual machine, and that virtual machine they will give us to do their jobs, right? Same thing. How to create a virtual machine means this is completely administration activity. This is not developer activity, but little bit of VM creation setup and all those things you should know. But here we are not going to cover much because this is not a developer activity. This is purely administration work. But in the certification, they had given some questions. They are giving some questions on VM creation also. Not more in depth, but some basic questions they are asking. That's why we included this concept also, like how to create a virtual machine and those virtual machine details, how to pass to customer. I mean, how to pass to developer, as well as using what is ARM templates, using ARM templates, how to create virtual machine. All these information will be covered in this area. Next, authentication of authorization. This is very important. See, if you are creating a web application, then obviously authentication and authorization will be done using identity or identity servers and all those things, right? So here, the whole organization itself, that means if you joined an organization, then company is going to provide one AD/ID, or if you are selected for a client, then the client is going to provide one AD/ID. Using that AD/ID only, you can log in into virtual machine. Using that AD/ID only, you can pull or push, etc. What and all activities you want, you can do. That means using that AD/ID, you are going to handle all the transactions, right? So this AD/ID, how this authentication or authorization will be handled using this Azure means here we are going to cover development related activity only. We are not going to cover much in this. Here we are going to cover purely development activity. But here, architecture wise, so much of things are there, like how to create multiple roles. For that roles, what are the permissions we have to assign? All these things will come under administration activity. That is not a developer role. But what is developer role? Some authentication, some account I created, and that account inside some users I created, and using that users, how to log in, log out, these functionality I have to manage in my Visual Studio, right? That part we are going to cover here. So these two modules are completely development related activities. But why we are going to cover here means, sorry, completely administration related activities. Why we are going to cover here means that programmatically how to connect these things we have to know. That because of that reason, in 204 certification also we added here. But these two concepts, complete overview will comes under administration. Okay. Next, key vault. Suppose generally, if you know ASP.NET Core or ASP.NET MVC, all secret keys or database connection details and all where we are going to store, we are going to store all that information in web.config or app settings.json, right? So that is not a secure way to store that information. Suppose you are going to connect database server, and that database server is a live production server which contains so many customers related so many customers related database settings and all. So many customers related credit card information, etc., and all. Right? That's why That's why all that database and all, you have to maintain more securely. Database connection and all, where you are integrating with your application, those you have to maintain more securely. Not only that, SSL certification keys, those also you have to maintain more securely, right? So all those information, how you are going to maintain so easily using key vault service. Nothing is going to store in our nothing is going to store in our application. Everything is going to store in Azure Key Vault, and Azure Key Vault is going to provide some encryption key. That encryption key we are going to use in our application. That's why no one can see the database connection is what, no one can see the SSL key is what and all. Okay, so how to maintain keys and all more securely will comes here. And API management is nothing but web API. How to create a web API here, how to maintain that more securely using logic apps, all these things will come here. That is nothing but web API concept. Okay, like swaggers and all, how to use all those things will be covered in this web API concept. Okay, then logic apps. Logic apps and all means generally see if you had a Facebook account or if you are having a Twitter account or okay, Facebook, Twitter, let's see this example. If you got a tweet or if you got a notification, then immediately you are getting one mail to your email ID, right? Immediately once you got a tweet or once someone is following you or once someone is sending a notification, immediately you are getting a mail. Earlier days, if you want to achieve this feature, we have to write huge lines of code to achieve this feature. But recently, not recently, Azure introduced these logic apps. Using these logic apps, without writing a single line of code, we can finish all the functionality. All the functionality we can finish. Okay, I will discuss more in detail. This is very, very useful feature. So those logic apps concept will comes into here. And events and all, how to create all those things will comes here. I'm not giving much. Suppose if you take mobile, in mobile you are going to get one notification, right? Push notifications and all. So those kind of events and all, how to create will comes here. And service bus, yes. So from suppose in WhatsApp, client is sending one message, one person is sending one message to server. Or suppose I'm sending one message to Anand and Anand is sending one message to me. Suppose when Anand is sending a message, when I'm not online, then that message is storing somewhere. When I came to online, immediately it is delivering. Or if I'm sending some message to X person, that person is not having WhatsApp. Then where all these messages are storing? Or group messaging is there. In some applications are going to send group message. If I want to send one message, that message is going to send to multiple people. How those things are possible? That is nothing but message based solutions. Okay, those will be covered here. So see, for all these things, coding concept only. Like how you are going to handle all these things using Visual Studio program. Okay, and finally monitoring and all will be more overview will be covered here, and not complete, but and caching mechanism and all will be covered here. Azure is having a beautiful feature called Redis cache. Using this Redis cache, even the whole server is down also, your application is going to run. So those things how to manage and all will comes under Redis cache. And finally, means not complete the information, but microservices architecture, how we are going to handle using Azure. This will be covered here. All these are programs only. That's why I'm saying Visual Studio. Any technical knowledge is required. Either Azure, either Visual Studio, .NET, or Java, or Python. Some programming knowledge is required here to learn this course. Okay. before moving, any questions from anyone, please ask. Hari, Maheshwari, Anand, if you people are having any questions, please ask in the syllabus. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, it is this Azure development is similar to web development, like how we develop it. Actually, I am a .NET developer. It is similar to that only, right?
What you're asking, right?
Yeah.
See, generally you are a .NET developer, right? So
Yeah.
here I'm not going to teach you how to create a website and all those things. Okay. So, like, I'm going to tell you, if I want to create a web application, there is an option called ASP.NET Core MVC, right? I will select that because in your batch, some of you may be Java developers, or some of you may be Python developers, right? So here I'm not going to cover anything like how I'm going to create a website in .NET and all. My concentration is completely how to deploy that application in Azure. You understood, right? Website creation and all, how you people are creating in your technologies, the same procedure. But here my intention is how to deploy that application in Azure. That I'm going to concentrate more here. Okay?
Okay, Azure take care of any application. An application can be written in any technology that will be taken care by Azure.
Yes, correct. Even if that Azure directly is not supporting, then we are having VMs. Suppose different type of application is there that implemented in different technology, which industry is using very less. Then obviously Azure also not supports. In such case, there is a concept called VM, right? We can create a virtual machine, and in that virtual machine, we can add that software and all, and we can create the application like that. I mean, most of the application, even PHP application, Python application, Java application, and NoSQL related application, all these types of applications Azure supports. But some softwares are there, right? Very old softwares. So, are very the software which recently introduced, which is not so popular. Those kind of things, if Azure not supports, then you have to go with VM. So you can purchase a VM or you can take a VM, and in that VM you have to install the software where you have created your application, and then you can start using.
VM means virtual machine, right?
A virtual machine. I mean, nothing but remote machine. Generally, if you are working for a client, obviously that client is going to provide one virtual machine.
Yeah.
Other two are very silent. If people are understanding or any issues, or you don't know about all these terminologies.
We will be getting this recording, right? Today's recording.
Yeah, yesterday and today's recording, both they will provide.
Yeah, please provide it.
Okay. So these are the course content, and along with this, I am going to provide all notes also, like mostly programs only. The programs I am going to provide along with theory concepts and all. Okay. I think others are not having any questions. I'm moving to next. Just a quick overview I will cover. Remaining I will cover later. So, what is cloud computing? So, see, we long back we are using this cloud, but we don't know that This is a cloud. One example I will tell. Suppose from long back you people are using YouTube. Okay, so Anand is saying he is having 10 years experience. In these 10 years experience, he used YouTube many times, right? Not only YouTube. If you take Gmail, if you take Yahoo, any mail servers, if you take, these mail servers you people are using from long back. So if you take any YouTube, where all these videos are coming, where all these videos are stored, or if you take Gmail, where all these mails information, my attachments, my drive related information, where all this information is stored. All this information is storing, all this information is storing in cloud. I mean, slowly if I start explaining or if I start giving examples, so many examples are there where we can use these cloud. So cloud is everywhere. Cloud is everywhere. Some areas means once I start giving or once I start moving into more in depth, then you might understand that these are the yes here we are using cloud. Yes, in these areas from long back we are using cloud and all. So cloud is everywhere, and it is completely changed the way of business. Suppose earlier days, when storage mechanism is not there, I mean, once when the YouTube concept was introduced, at that time storage concept is not there. Then what they are going to do? They are going to purchase a dedicated servers to store all this information, which is very huge investment to store this information. Not only that, nowadays, if you want wallpapers, then you are get so many websites are there which are providing so many wallpapers, right? Where all these wallpapers are coming. So all these wallpapers information they are storing in a storage, and which is very cheap. I mean, if you had taken 500 TB, that 500 TB is going to provide with minimal price. 500 TB they are providing for one Azure storage account, and which is going to cost very less. Okay, so because of all these cloud concepts came into picture. Means I'm giving an example of storage, but so many other things are there, like logic apps are there, active directories are there. Like after coming all these things, the complete way of business itself changed. The way of business is changed. Suppose nowadays, when one developer is joined in that organization, then immediately for the developer they are creating, client is giving creating one account, and client is providing that use AD/ID and password to that developer. So for that AD/ID, what and all things we have to give, what and all things we shouldn't give, all those things in that Azure Active Directory we are going to maintain. And suddenly, if the person is the person left the job, then whatever permissions, whatever AD/ID is there, everything they are revoking. How all these things become so simple? Because of this cloud company. I'm not saying about Azure or AWS or something. I'm saying about general cloud computing. So some definitions they are saying cloud computing means storing and accessing data programs over the internet instead of accessing from local computer hardware. I mean, nothing is going to store in our local computer. Everything is going to store in cloud. Because what is the advantage of this? Suppose today I'm working from my home. Tomorrow I can go to somewhere, and there also I can work. Nowadays, work from home concept came because of this only, right? So if you are working from office or if you are working from home, whatever it is, you have to connect to your remote machine, and from that remote machine you have to. Nothing is there in your PC, whether if it is an office system or if your personal laptop, whatever it is, nothing is there in your local PC. Everything is in cloud. So if you want to connect that cloud, they are going to provide some credentials. Using those credentials, you are going to connect with that cloud. Right? Here also same thing. So cloud computing means storing and accessing data and programs over internet instead of accessing from local computer hardware. Or some articles and some people they are saying as it is a type of internet based computing where the different services like servers, storage, applications, etc., all these things are going to access using internet. And how they are going to manage? I am saying your application is not in local. Your application is in cloud. Your database is in cloud. Everything is in cloud. Then in cloud, if everything is there, when you are trying to log in, then who is going to manage all this information? Because someone have to manage, right? If I said I want to take a VM, then someone have to prepare all these things, right? Somewhere, see, nothing is going to store in my local machine. Agree. But somewhere it have to store, right? Where it is going to store, every cloud computing is having some list of data centers. Some list of data centers. Those data centers are going to manage all these information. Those data centers are going to manage all this information. Again, I'm repeating, cloud computing is a computing which is going to manage all this information, okay, with the help of some data centers. So, how many data centers are there for Azure, or how many data centers are there for AWS? Means there are huge data centers. Generally, Microsoft won't give complete information about data centers. Why? If any hacker or if anyone wants to destroy, then they can destroy very easily if they know where the data center is available. Some data centers is on earth, some data centers is on underwater also. I mean, those kind of mechanisms also recently Microsoft is implementing. Okay, so maybe you don't know. Beside of your house, only one data center is there, but we don't have much information of that. But all over India, we are having huge data centers. At the same time, all over world, we are having thousands of data centers which are going to handle all these jobs. So, a cloud computing service consists of highly optimized data centers, and it hides the complexity like continuous power supply, backup, recovery, maintenance, and hardware and upgrading OS. All these things you no need to take care. That means earlier days, if you remember earlier days, if one MNC company want to start projects for their clients, they have to maintain huge servers. Again, for those servers maintaining, they have to hire resources. And to maintain those servers, they need highly full and AC rooms and with a lot of power supply and all. Then only they are going to start. Taking projects from clients. Why? Those projects and all they have to deploy in those servers, and always the server should be on. If one server is going to shut down, then immediately we have to take another server. Or if any pongal offers or if anything is came, then if that website is going to provide huge offers, then you have to maintain extra backup server to handle the load. Like Amazon is there, 3 days offers they are putting, right? Obviously, those 3 days, whether we are purchasing or not, whatever it is, but obviously huge traffic will come. So for that huge traffic, we have to maintain spare server and all. But whereas if you take these cloud computing, nothing is there in your hand. If huge traffic is coming, they will take care. And extra server is required, they will take care. And if any power failure is there in the whole city, they will take care about their servers. and like that. I mean, I nothing I have to worry. Even nowadays, if you take any MNC company, nowhere they are maintaining servers and all. Very less people. If they are undertaking some government projects and they insist as you have to maintain servers, you shouldn't give this data to outside. In those cases only, servers and all they are made. Even in that case also, they are taking this cloud services only. That is called private cloud services they are taking. I will explain. Don't worry about that. But what cloud computing is saying that you no need to worry about anything. All this complexity and all I will take care. All this complexity and all I will take care. You have to worry about your application and data only. Okay. And cloud platform provides on-demand services that are always on and that can be accessed from anywhere, anytime, and any place. See, suppose if you take your VM can be connected at any time, and VM can be connected from any place, right? So, whatever cloud computing is there, that can be connected from anywhere, any place, at any time. Even midnight also, if you had some time, you can connect to your VM and you can work. No one will say that no, this time you should not work like that. Okay. So, whatever cloud services are there, those cloud services are on-demand services. On-demand service means today if I want logic apps for my application, I can take. And tomorrow I don't want logic apps, I can remove that. I mean, what and all services, if you want, that you can ask and you can take. If you don't want, you can remove that. Okay. So for how much time you are demanding for those services, for that much time, how much time you are using those services, for that much time only, they are going to charge the amount. And the services like Gmail, Google Docs, if you are listening music like Raga and all those things are there, right? All these things, Spotify, all these things are using these cloud services. So, because if you open Spotify, how many songs are there? How all these songs are going to store, and how securely all this. Suppose if you are having an account, then it will shows different. The way of playing the songs and all those things are different. Like if you are Gmail, there are huge mails or Google documents, huge documentation we are going to store. All these things, how we are getting because of this cloud computing model. And these always work in a model called pay as you go. That means what and all services you are taking, for that only they are going to they are asking you to pay the money. That means now suppose let's take me. So today I'm going to explain VM concept. So if when I started explaining VM concept, either 1 hour or 2 hours I will take, and I will explain how to create VM and all those things. Then how to create VM and all those things I will explain. Then hardly how much time I used 2 hours. That 2 hours only I created a VM and I used that VM options and all. Then in month end bill, I will get for those 2 hours only. I won't get for the whole month. Why? That service I used for 2 hours only. Or that service I used for 15 minutes only. For that 15 minutes only, they are going to charge. Like that. I mean, if you want, use any service for how much time you want, and for that much time only, and for that service only pay. I won't take you any extra 1 rupee from you also. Okay, so that's why all cloud models are going to follow these pay as you go model only. That's why this cloud computing becomes so popular. And some of the cloud providers, what are they? Amazon, AWS, Amazon is going to provide AWS, Microsoft is going to provide Azure, Google is going to provide GCP, and IBM is also providing some GCP service. So after GCP, the next place will be in IBM. Okay, IBM is also having some certifications like this, and IBM is also having all these storage, etc., etc. All these are provided. Okay, yes. Any questions? So I didn't start these planning models and all. I just started what is cloud computing, but advantages, disadvantages, and what are the cloud models are available. All these things we will discuss.